the iPhone SE 2. I haven't really made a video on the iPhone SE 2 for more than a month now, and we've actually had so many new leaks in the past few weeks. So here's an updated video on everything you need to know about Apple's new entry-level iPhone for 2018. I'm especially making this video today because WWDC is happening tomorrow, June the 4th, so there is a chance that we'll see the iPhone SE 2 being introduced and maybe even released tomorrow at WWDC instead of the, expected September release. So yeah, get all those snacks ready, sit back, relax, and let's take a look at everything new in terms of the iPhone SE 2 for 2018. So we know that Apple will be releasing two new iPhone models this year. The first one would be an updated iPhone 10 with 2018 specs and improved camera, as well as finally an iPhone 10 Plus. So a 6.5 inches iPhone 10 that would continue the Plus lineup, and it would be a direct successor to the iPhone 8 Plus. Now, aside from these two iPhones, Apple's also working on at least one more iPhone model, a cheaper / an entry-level iPhone for 2018. We've actually had so many reports on this, and this is, by the way, not on one, but actually on two entry-level iPhones for 2018. So one of them would be a 6.1-inch LCD iPhone 10, so an entry-level iPhone 10, whereas the second one would be an iPhone SE 2, so an updated iPhone SE with updated specs, along with the brand new design. Now, Apple could actually release both models, or they could just scrap one of them in favor for the other, but so far it seems like the one that's most likely going to happen is actually the iPhone SE 2. Now, most reports on the SE 2 are actually pointing towards an early 2018 release, so the 4th of June at WWDC, at the WWDC event, that would be a very likely candidate for when the iPhone SE 2 might be announced. Now, Mako Takara, they actually pointed towards a May 2018 release, which I didn't believe it was going to happen. It didn't really make sense for Apple to randomly release an iPhone SE 2 ahead of even WWDC. But yeah, of course that didn't happen. And then most reports right now are actually including one from TrendForce, which, by the way, is a pretty reliable source when it comes to Apple leaks. They said that WWDC is when we'll see an iPhone SE 2. And then the French website Consomac reports that Apple has just registered a number of new iPhone models to the EEC, or the Eurasian Economic Commission, and that they're all running iOS 11, which is very interesting. Now, the September iPhones, so the new iPhone 10 updates, they would be running on iOS 12 out of the box. So this would mean that this new iPhone model would be released before iOS 12 comes out, so before September, and the only Apple event until then is WWDC, which is tomorrow. Now, in terms of the actual design, we've actually had many contradictory reports. So essentially, we have three design options for the iPhone SE 2. So the first one is the exact same design as the original iPhone SE, just with updated specs. So Apple A10 processor, 2 GB of RAM, as well as an iPhone 7 camera. So essentially, not an iPhone 6s inside an iPhone 5s or 5 body, but an iPhone 7 inside an iPhone 5s or 5 body, basically. Then two, the second design option is an iPhone SE design, but with a glass back so that we could have wireless charging. And then option number 3 is an iPhone 10 style design with Face ID and a larger, about a 4.2 inches display, along with the removal of the home button and no more side bezels and bottom bezel. The back would also be made out of glass as well, so wireless charging support, and then the sides would be squared off, so similar to the current generation iPhone SE 5s and 5 on the sides, and then the front and the back, they would be basically the iPhone 10's design. Now, we haven't really had any major leaks in terms of option number 1, because, if it's gonna look identical to the SE 1, then you cannot really tell that it's an SE 2 based on the design alone. Now, in terms of option number 2, an iPhone SE 2 with an iPhone SE 1 design, but with a glass back, we actually had quite a number of leaks on this. So there were a number of images and videos posted on Weibo showing what looks to be an iPhone SE, but with a glass back. So the front seems to be identical to the current model, and we still seem to have the headphone jack, which was actually missing from one of the previous leaks that I showed you in my previous leaks and rumors videos on the iPhone SE 2. Now, obviously, option number 3 would be the best case scenario, a mini iPhone 10, so to say. And actually, the good news is that this is the one we've had the most leaks on. So there was this video that surfaced a while ago showing what seems to be a smaller iPhone 10, but with an iPhone SE frame. So the sides were quite squared off. But honestly, I think that this video is fake. So I think it's a fake video. I think it's an iPhone 10 in an iPhone SE style case. But we've actually had some leaks that look to be pretty genuine on this design option as well. So some screen protectors of this alleged iPhone SE 2, they appeared on Weibo showing a design that's even smaller than the SE 1. So we can see what looks to be a 4.2-ish inch display. So this would be possible with this design choice. And that's because the bezels would actually be gone entirely. So yes, you can have a large display in an even smaller form factor. Now, the notch does appear to be strangely small, smaller than even on the iPhone 10, which would either mean that Apple has managed to dramatically reduce its size, the size of the notch, in just a matter of months, or that number two, the iPhone SE 2 would actually not come with Face ID. So this would mean that Apple would have to rely on the front-facing camera alone for unlocking your iPhone, which I don't really see happening. This would basically kill Apple Pay. It would also kill, well, just Apple Pay mostly. But again, I don't see this happening, and I don't see the first option happening either, especially if Apple wants to keep the cost of this phone low. Now, the case maker Alexar, they've posted some schematics of the iPhone SE 2, which do seem to match the screen protector leak. And Alexar has also posted, by the way, a render of the iPhone SE 2, which does show that iPhone 10 design. So this is also the design that you've seen in my iPhone SE 2's on-off-tech render. But okay, what's really happening with the iPhone SE 2? Which leaks are fake, which are real? And what design option is Apple going to go with? And also, when is this thing going to be released? Well, here's what I think. So Apple's plan for the original iPhone SE 2 was for them to make something that was first a small form factor smartphone, and then second, a cheaper option than basically all the other iPhone options that Apple was offering. So cost wasn't really Apple's main goal here with the original iPhone SE 2. But after seeing how well the original iPhone SE was selling, Apple decided to focus on the price aspect of this phone instead. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the entry-level iPad. So that's Apple's best-selling tablet right now, and that's because it's also Apple's cheapest tablet as well, starting at half the cost of the iPad Pro. And if you take a look at the iPad, it actually comes with an iPad Air 1 design and the iPad Air 1 display, which was launched back in 2013, the iPad Air 1, so 5 years ago. So Apple using the same iPhone 5 design from 2012 and 2018, 6 years later, under iPhone SE 2 to keep the cost low as possible seems very likely to happen. But then Apple wants to sell as many accessories as possible, so my personal prediction for the iPhone SE 2 would be an iPhone SE 1 design with a glass back, so they could sell more AirPower charging mats, and I would say even the removal of the headphone jack so that they can sell more AirPods, and no other changes in terms of the design. And then yes, the Apple A10 processor, 2 GB of RAM, same specs as the iPhone 7, same camera as the iPhone 7, and also, fun fact, this would also make it have the same specs as the 2018 entry-level iPad. So this is what I personally believe that Apple would be doing with the iPhone SE 2. But do let me know in the comments, what do you think that Apple would be doing in terms of the iPhone SE 2, and what do you think, what would you like to see from Apple in terms of this smartphone? And then also, what's the main reason you would consider getting an iPhone SE 2? Would it be the low cost, or would it be the small form factor? Let me know in the comments, and also subscribe and enable notifications for more Leaks and Rumors episodes like this one. Hopefully this was a cool video. Also check out my previous Leaks and Rumors episodes on the 2018 MacBook Air, iOS 12, WWDC 2018, as well as the upcoming Google Pixel 3, which is literally the main Android smartphone that I'm waiting for this year. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Daniel, really looking forward to this iPhone SE 2. Stay tuned for WWDC tomorrow. But yeah, this has been pretty much it. Follow me on Twitter at ZoneOfTech. That's where I'm mostly active on. So I'll post some images and some cool stuff from WWDC, and pretty cool WWDC should be coming. Video should be coming tomorrow as well. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Daniel. Feel free to like if you have enjoyed it to let me know. See you guys in my next one. ZoneOfTech signing out. Cheers.